Afternoon from Carrera 51 Raceway. So we're here with the Corvette that I am modifying for the CB wheels, and I'm putting in some slotted axles. So the slotted axles I'm putting in are the PA68 is the part number. They're bronze bushings. They're for Carrera and Scalextric. And so what I've done is that now they don't have, and I suggest this, and don't do it the way I did it, because it's just because they don't have the pin, the alignment kit for these axles. It's out of stock currently. But what I did was I used some filing and just kind of gingerly did stuff and make sure that these snap in place like they should, and they should be able to float just like in Harry's videos. You can see they float like that. That's what you want. And just like that, see how they're floating? And what you have to do is you have to shave a little bit of the ears off and then file this down, which I did. And again, I don't have the proper tool. I would recommend getting the bit. I just did it this way and got lucky, but I'm just showing you as an example. You know, don't do it this way. And you can see I have some little washers here because I went a little bit too errant and oblonged these holes on accident, and now they were not able to keep the body on, so don't do that. So what I did was I put some spacers in there and just opened them up and glued them in, so this way the screw will be able to go through there and hold on, and have a shoulder for it to hold on to. Otherwise you make them too big, and what happens, it's gonna pop through, and you don't want that. So that's my mistake, and I was able to fix it. So but anyways, onto the bushings, and you can see how they're floating like this. And what I'm going to do for this instance is put the axle on, and then I'm going to glue here and here. But as what you do want to do is you want to put some oil, and this is how Harry did it. That's why I'm doing it his way. And I'm going to put a little oil here and a little oil here, and just go like that. And well, the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that that when I put some super glue, it doesn't, if it does get on the axle, if I put too much, it won't stick to the bushing. And what I'll do is I'll get my cheapo super glue here, and this stuff is terrible sometimes because it comes flying out of here. So we want to make sure that you're not making too big of a mess. And what you're going to do is get a small drop and put it there and there, just like that. Small drop here and here, and we're going to let that sit. And what that's going to do is hold that bushing in place there, and you see how nice and free this is moving because we have oil on it. Then we're going to let it set. And as you can see, I already cut out my section here. If you do have the stock gear, you want to mark it first. I kind of made a bigger hole because I wanted a bigger area to look at everything. So I may have went a little bit too crazy, but that's okay. That's, it won't kill anything. But you can make a smaller area if you want. I just, was just messing around with this when I had it. But if you do have your stock gear and everything in there, the original stuff, you'll probably want to mark it first and remove it. I went a little bit wide, like I said. I just went a little bit bigger, but just the way I did it. So I got this all set, and what I'm going to do is let that glue dry, and we'll come back and put the rest of the stuff in. So here we are. We are back, and we are going to put the tires on the CB aluminum wheels, and this is for the Carrera. So this is for the rear. Now I would recommend buying inserts from Slot Car Corner. Now these inserts I actually shaved down, and it took a while to do this, and you get them super thin, and I wouldn't recommend it. That's really tough to do. Just buy some inserts and stick them in there, look better. Those are the original Carrera. I came off the Carrera wheel, and I just shaved them off and cut them off and stuck them in there. So I mean, it is what it is. So we're gonna go with that because that's how I just, started to do this, and throwing stuff around here. So what we have here is the Paul Gauge 2125 LM. Now what the LM stands for is for the aluminum CB wheels. Now if you're going to use the, which you probably won't use the stock real Carrera end, but you're going to need wheels, or excuse me, tires for the front of the car, as obviously. So while I dig these out, as you hear me rustling around here, you're going to see the ridge on these right here. So they make a tire for this also, and these are the Paul Gauge 2125 LM XT, which is extra deep because you have this large ridge here, as you can see, compared to this wheel. And since this is taller, you're not going to be able to fit this tire onto this wheel. Now if you go to the tire chart, or the tire tool that they have on Slot Car Corner, what you're going to do is go into the stock, you're going to get stock Carrera tires, and then when you go to the CB wheels, you're going to go to the CB wheel number for this tire, for this tire for this wheel here. And I will tell you what these numbers are. I don't remember. I'll text it over the video, and you'll see the number of these wheels here. And these are CB design wheels. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue these onto the wheel, because Paul Gauge tires, urethanes, are going to last forever. Now if you're going to do rubber, then I would suggest you don't do that, but you're obviously, if you get NSR rubber and decide to put them on there, and then I wouldn't glue them. But since we're going to glue these, we're going to just show you. See if I get some extra axles here, because I'm not prepared in some of these videos sometimes. We are going to just put the wheels on here, and as you can see, it only goes so far. So, and we'll get the correct tool, and I got stuff all over, as I said, and lock that down. And then what we're going to do is get nail polish. Nail polish is the best stuff to use for this. I wouldn't use anything else. I know I've used some weird German urethane glue that I have, but that's because I got it from Germany. But we're going to stick with nail polish, and what you're going to do is just coat it just like so. Get some on the rib here, or the outside rib of the wheel, just like that, and like that. Put this off to the side, and then what we're going to do is pull. You want to put your ridged side, which the part where you see there, which is part of the process, and then the nice side, that isn't that way. That's nice and smooth, like the outside of the tire. You want this facing outward. Then you're going to put this part right here, which is sticking out a little, because you could shave this down, and slip it right over the wheel just like so. And I want to make sure we get it on there all the way, and it'll pop into place just like it did right there. You see, get that tucked in, and then what you could do is just roll it like so, just to make sure you're getting all that glue on there. And there you go. There's the tire mounted onto the wheel. And then what you'll do is let them dry for about a couple of hours, or you can let them dry overnight. Actually, it just depends. On my tire true, it really only takes like I only let them dry like about a few hours. I'd say like 5 or 6 hours. That's more than a few hours. I said 5 or 6 hours, or leave them overnight. I would say leave them overnight for guys that are doing this, and then you could true them. And then you'll do is you get more of the nail polish, of course, on the other wheel, and usually stick this on an axle to make it easier to slip the tire on to the wheel. And then we'll get some right here. Just put a little bit heavy-handed there. Just put a coat on there. And here's the tire. And then what you're going to do again, the smooth side like that faces out, and then this side with the little extrusion part of the process when they did these tires, you want that on the inside because you can shave that off. And you're going to slip that over there. Make sure it plops in there in place, just like so, just like that. You just want to make sure it's all around there perfectly, and then just roll it, and there you go. Now you have your tires. Now you're going to ask the next question, how the hell did I get them off? And that's easy. What you're going to do is you're going to get a pin vise and a small drill bit. I would say the size would be a 16th or 5/64 drill bit, and you're going to put on your pin vise, and you're going to locate the which you could see it right here. I know it's kind of hard to see it through the. Now you see that little notch right there? That means that's where the set screw's at. Then what you're going to do is you're going to see a hole here, and I know we put the inserts already, which you probably should wait till after you know, put the tire on first, then put the inserts. I did this ahead of time, test fitting these. So, and there's a hole here, and what you're going to do is just drill it and line up your hole, and it's kind of like an eyeball sight, and usually the set screws like a little bit, how would I say, right about here usually. And you're going to drill through and make a hole, so this way you could put your tool through there. And I can go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to get my little drill bit here, and let me get this one right here, and I'm going to get a pin vise. I'm going to do it right here and show you, so you see me doing it. If I screw up, you're going to see me screw up, and if I make a mistake, then you're going to see they don't do it that way, and I'll correct myself. So that's what this hobby is just learning on the fly. This is the first time I'm doing this. So then what you're going to do is locate that little notch right there, that little part right there, and we're about here, and there you go. And all I'm doing is making a hole. I'm just doing this now to show you. You could wait till these dry. You don't have to do the hole right away. And then right there, and there you go. So you have a hole right there, and that's no big deal having that hole, because this is going to get true down. It's just to have access to the set screw, because if you don't have access to the set screw, you can't take the wheel off and you can't trim or whatnot. So there you go, there's that one, and then I'll do the same to this one, and we'll be set. And this size of this drill bit, since it's a smaller wheel, is a 5/64 drill bit, so that's a little bit, you know, small. The bigger wheels use maybe one size up. So now we have those glued. Set those off to the side, and we'll go back to these ones here. Now, guys, if you have tire truers, what I suggest you do is fill these in with epoxy, and then just sand these down to make it like completely round and smooth, just to get these filled in. The tire should still fit over it. You just don't want to sand them down completely. Obviously, you just want to sand this. You put the epoxy right here where it's a little bit higher than this wheel, and then just sand them down, you know, to get them smooth all the way around. But you don't have to do that either if you don't want to. And what you can do is just take these off and then place them on here, obviously, and you can see these are the extra groove, extra deep. And you can see how, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, how much deeper that is compared to the LM wheel. This is the LMXD, and again, these will fit over there perfectly, just like that. And there you go. They're really going pretty simply. There's nothing fancy about it. And just slip them over. Now you could choose to glue them on if you want. That's fine. I would glue them on. They're gonna last forever on this car. And those are your front tires. And if you could true them, if you have a truer, that'd be good too. I know a lot of guys don't have truers, so, and that's a little tough. But I gotta make sure these are on there good too. And there's your front tires on there, ready to go from the car. And so now we have our glue dried. We're just making sure that this is, and that's actually perfect what we want right there. See how that fell through? There it goes. You want you want it to do that. That's actually really perfect how that did that. See, it just falls through nicely, because that means it's pretty much aligned. Now again, I would suggest getting an alignment tool when it's available before you do any of this, because I don't want you guys to ruin your chassis the way I did it, because I didn't exactly do it, you know, the way it should be done, because I don't have the tool. And I'll leave that in there. I shouldn't be messing around with it because it still hasn't completely dried. And then You could do that also. You could use epoxy too if you want to use epoxy. Super glue will be fine. As mentioned in the video that Harry did, this will last forever. He had a car that still has this after 12 years, so I mean it's not going to wear out. It's gonna, you know, this is gonna go on forever and ever. And again, we'll set to the side and quit messing with that. So that's it for this segment. We'll get back to the assembly when that's all dried up, and I'll see you in a bit. So we're back here and we're going to talk about motors. So if you want to go with the stock Carrera motor, you can, and that's fine. These motors are fine. I mean, they're not bad, but I would suggest replacing the gear with a brass one. I wouldn't use the plastic one, because these what happens when this does get hot when you're using these, and I found this happen when you're running the car constantly and they get old. Sometimes this shaft will heat up, and then this plastic will melt a little or wear out, and then you have it spinning, and the shaft is spinning but the gear is not, because it's plastic. And usually if you could pull it out with your finger like that, it's no good. This one obviously is still good because this car was hardly ever used. So that being said, what you can do is, you really don't need this little circuit board. That's just something Carrera with a noise resistor that they use for their, you know, for their stuff. So what you could do is unsolder these, and the choice of motors you have are from Predator are 18,000 RPM, and then you have the 25 or 22,500 RPM ball bearing motor, very good motor. Or if you don't really want to hop it up and go like, you know, want to tune it down, because some people you don't need to have a real high powered motor. There's also the 12,500 RPM motor. I believe these are rated at 19,000 RPM, but I'm not sure. I could be incorrect. I can't remember, and I really haven't looked it up, but I could be wrong. So you can go a little bit more, maybe a little bit more to handle. Now with this ball bearing motor, there won't be as much braking. It'll roll more because it's the ball bearing compared to this, which it doesn't, so you have a little bit more braking on this. But what I've found with these is that they will freewheel more as you stop the car, because it's a ball bearing, whereas this isn't a ball bearing. But either way, you could experiment by getting two and just putting them in the car, because these are easy to pop in and pop out, and you know, take the pinion off or put it on the other one. It's really no big deal. The only thing you will have to do is you'll have to probably cut the shaft on the end bell part, because it will stick out, and I think it will interfere with this part of the chassis right here, which is where you mount the chip. And this is a digital car we're doing. We're not doing a analog car, so that's why I'm doing this segment for the digital people, because these motors are really good. And then you could use other brands as well if you want. NSR, I mean, you could throw an NSR one in there. They have these motors different. You could experiment. Every track is different, so I mean, maybe your track will require something more speed because you got a longer straightaway, or something that's more of a road course and you don't want that much power, and this is, you know, suitable for your track. But again, like I said, everybody's track's different. I'm doing this for the digital people with plastic tracks, and if you have a wood, there are people that do wood tracks with actually a digital CU. There's one gentleman in Tennessee that has it set up that way, and it's pretty unique how he did it, and I like how he set that up. So I mean, there's a lot of variations you have to consider. So these are the choice of motors here. You could go with what you want. I'm going to use the 18,000 RPM just to see how it does. And then later I could experiment and throw a 22,500 ball bearing motor. So again, this is all from Slot Car Corner. So they also have other motors available from other brands, NSR and so forth. So we're going to go with this one. We're going to cut that shaft down, and we're going to transfer this connector onto this right here. So it just makes it easier to, you know, deal with. Obviously Carrera, the positive is gray and the purple is negative. It's not like red and white. They're a little bit different. As you can see that splotch there, that means that's the positive. And so we're going to go with this and go with this motor, and we'll get a brass pinion for that slot in, which will be a 64 pitch. And I'm going to use a 9-tooth, which I do have here in my little stash of gears, in my little Dubrick cases. And here we go, 9/64 pitch. So I'm going to grab one of these and use that gear. These are really nice containers also to store your small parts, also from Slot Car Corner. So if you ever need anything like that. Just, you know, make sure you don't hit those lids, because if you don't shut them all the way, the things will fly out. So just be sure you do that. So we'll go and we'll install all this stuff in here, and then we'll go from there. Oh, welcome back. So we got our motor set up and everything. So as you can see, and I'm gonna correct myself on what I said on the last segment, was that the positive was the gray and the negative was the purple. It's the opposite now. Sorry about that. So on these motors of Carrera, the positive is purple and the negative is gray. So that being said, you want to make sure that this is running in the same direction that you need it to. So what I'll do is I'll test it. I'll put my positive and my negative here, just like how it's set up here. And what I'll do is I'll turn on my power supply, and I got low voltage on this, like 7 volts, and I'm going to turn it, and you can see that it's turning in the right direction, which is clockwise, or excuse me, counterclockwise, to turn the wheels in the right direction. And then the motor is moving from the pinion, the motor's moving clockwise, and then against the gear it's counterclockwise to move it. So if you reverse these and the car goes backwards, then it's no big deal. You just switch these around if you make that mistake, but you could check it if you have a power supply. And you can see right here I have, let me get these leads out of the way because I got the charger on as well. I had to cut that down, which is the end bell shaft. Cut it down so it'll, you know, when the chip's in here it won't get in the way. And then I've had to cut also the pinion shaft down, and you want to cut it down enough to where, if you could see, that it'll be right in that slot there, which is like the alignment gap, and you want to make sure it's not hitting that and there's enough room between the two. And you want to also make sure the gear is not close to this also, because if it gets close to this right here, it starts causing resistance, and then it starts grounding and making issues. So that's where you want your gear placement, right about there, a little bit, not exactly center, but it's almost there. You could fiddle if you want and get it a little closer. I probably could, but that's fine right there for me. And as you can see, it's all set to go. Our bushings are aligned. It runs really nice and smooth. And what we'll do is we'll assemble the car and put everything together and go from there. Welcome back. So we got the motor installed, all the, you know, connectors connected, the chip, put the lights back in place. And as you see right here, I put the motor in, got it in there real good. I put some spacers there. I suggest you buy a set of spacers. They do come in handy. I'm running low. I need to get some more. They save you. So I spaced this out a little so it's not too close to touching the chassis, because it probably would touch it. I didn't ground the tires down completely to the rim, and you can do that, but I felt that that wasn't really necessary. But I got it spaced right. And then what I did also is, see where this wire runs right underneath here, I put a little UV glue there, so this way it doesn't move and get caught up in the axle, because again, this thing's got a ton of wires that go everywhere. I did also secure this, the side of the motor, and this is important, with UV glue on both sides. And what this does is to keep this from torsioning, because as you apply power, this wants to twist because it's not really screwed into the chassis, it's snapped in. So this gives you extra support. And of course, that UV glue, you could break it up if you need to service the motor or something like that. And then I put some PTFE oil, or grease in there, excuse me, oil up the bushings. Made sure it's going in the right direction, like we talked about on the this being the positive and this the negative. And you can see it here on the chip. It'll tell you the purple's positive and the black and the negative is gray. So it's a little different on the digital cars. So we're all set. Here's another thing I also did. So I got another Carrera stock Corvette that I will be working on too, like I do this one. This is the yellow one that I have. And what you see here to give you your body float is you want to, I got a X-Acto blade and just chopped these off and made this flush just like this on the front, and did the same with the back. This allows the body to float on there. And also you'll want to trim, as you can see I trimmed all this, kind of ground it down on the sides, along the back, a little bit on this part also, because this tends to interfere, and then inside here, and cut it with the blade, just to make sure the body has float. And as you can see, this is kind of what you want, is to float. You want this to float nicely because that will help handling. And as you can see, this is also will float on there because I cut those down. See how nice that floats there. And that's important to cut these off, cut these flush. And what you're doing is you're cutting them flush, and just like this, so this way the body will float around. It shouldn't affect ride height that much, so you should be okay, and we'll find out though. Then what you want to do is get the slot car corner body screws, which are M2.6 by 6 millimeter, and these will also fit for the Carrera post, and it'll allow the body, give you the body float, so you don't have to tighten them. And here are the screws right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this on here and install the screws. One thing also we did do, I forgot to mention, is we put the slot invasion guide, which also helps with your Carrera track. It's deeper, the guide is better than the stock. And we'll put that on, and the screws on here. I'll go down all the way and then I'll loosen them up like so, and put that one down there. You know what I'll do is I'll go snug, kind of bottom them out, and then I will just give my adjustment as I got them in there. See, it's tight now, and then all I'm going to do is go one turn, and one turn here, one turn here. And I got some good body float there. And again, see, that's nice. And you can mess around with this with handling. And so there's the car all completed. Looks pretty good. Don't see no issues with it. The wheels tuck in a little on this one. So what I may do also is put more spacers on here, which I will adjust. As you can see, it's more on the inside than these are. So what I'll do is I'll get some more spacers and fix that up. Alright, we're back, and so I put in the correct amount of spacers. You can see I got it nice and where I want it. And what we're going to do is, again, we're going to throw it on the track like I said. I just wanted to do these adjustments and see how she rock and rolls. So let's go try it out. We're going to give it a run. Here we go. We're back here, back on the track here, and running the car. And this is a kind of like a table view. And you have to really play with the body float in these Carrera cars once you get everything set up. You know, a little turn here, a little turn there, and it'll change the characteristics how the car goes into the corner and whatnot. Don't get too frustrated with it. You want to be able to play around with it. That's the whole point of this hobby, is you just tune the car and just move a screw here little at a time, little at a time. You have to play with the float. Of course, the front axle is not adjustable on this car, but since we trued our tires pretty good and we got them down enough to where they don't hit the body, and that's really important. Make sure when it floats, it's not hitting the body. If it is, true them down some more. And if not, use the stock Carrera front tires. You could do that also. Those are the perfect size. I had to true down the Paul Gage tires, the LMX XD tires, down to the same size as the Carrera ones, because they're a little bit bigger, which is fine. That's what's great about urethane. You trim them down. That's if you don't have a truer, then use the stock Carrera tires or use some zero grip NSRs. That'll fit the wheels and that'll be fine. You can do that also. Worry about body roll. So we're going to go to an overhead shot here, and you can see how the car is behaving and stuff. How it goes in there and whips around. You do want to keep your track clean. And again, this is a digital car, so you could switch lanes and try each lane. It's not like an analog one. And I guess the most important thing, like I said, is mess with the body float. I will do another video on another car where I will change the guide to a slotting plus guide with an adapter from CG slot cars, and I'll do that segment on the yellow Corvette so you can see the differences. But if you want to do some light modifications, this is a good way to go. If you want to get heavier, I'll do it in another video. But again, cars is fun to drive. It's more challenging. This is set at 13 volts. Guys with CU controllers that don't have voltage regulators, just set it to number 3, which is the number 3 red dot on your control unit, and that should be fine. If you go a full 14.8, I don't think it'll be very manageable, to be honest. I have it set at 13. It's a little bit wild. I'd probably go a volt down less, and it's probably a little bit more fun to drive. You want a car that's fun to drive, and this is the challenge part of not having a magnet, is to drive it like a real car. So I hope you enjoyed this segment. I know it's a long 30-minute video, but if you have any questions, you can email and let me know. And take care and have fun racing.